What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC Vegas 108. We have Tatsuro Taira going against Hong Sung Park. And yeah, we're right back at it. And we are back in the Apex after a while of being in the Apex. Haven't been in the Apex and it feels like a couple months, but we're back and we actually have, back-to-back Apex cards this week and next week. And this card's a weird one. It's certainly a weird card. We've had a million cancellations thus far. As of today, on a Monday, I believe we got the main event officially announced, which is, Tatsuro Taira, Hong Sung Park. Was supposed to be Tatsuro Taira versus Amir Albazi. There were rumors that Waldo Cortez Acosta is going to step in and main event, and that's not the case anymore. And then they recently just added a prelim not too long ago with Austin Bashi, staying on the card because Austin Bashi lost his opponent. So yeah, it's a weird card, but I think there's some fun fights, and as always, I'm looking forward to breaking it down and getting into it. Before we get into it, though, if you guys could like the video, also subscribe to the channel. Road to 30,000. That's the goal by the end of the year. We're getting there slowly but surely. I think we're about 1,000 or so away. So if you guys do enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And also leave a comment. Commenting helps out the algorithm, whether it's a good comment, a nice comment, which are enjoyable. But mean comment, even the mean comments, they help a lot as well. So just any comment, it's much, much appreciated. But with all that out of the way, I say we get into it. And we're going to start on the first fight of the card. And it is a fight they added not too long ago. So I was finishing up my graphics. I had to do them myself this week because I did have to fire my graphics guy. I was sick of his bullshit. So I was putting the graphics together, and then I went on X, and I saw that this fight was officially announced. And I was pissed off because I had all the research done, had the graphics just about done, and had to go tape John Yannis, who I had no clue who he was, right? So I was able to tape John Yannis, and I think it's probably a good bounce back spot for Austin Bashi. So Bashi, last year's Contender Series, if I had to pick, the guy I was most excited about, it was Bashi. It was Austin Bashi, and a lot of people felt the same way. And then he went out there and lost to Christian Rodriguez, right? And, it's not a horrible loss like Christian Rodriguez as a guy that can go out there and beat, top prospects. He's shown that time and time again, but still, it was kind of a little bit of a setback for Bashi. But this is where I kind of feel like he gets back on track here. John Yannis taking this fight on short notice. Austin Bashi was supposed to be on this card. Yannis was actually supposed to fight later this month, I believe, so I do think Yannis will be in shape and ready to go, but I just think it's a tough matchup for him. So I was able to watch a decent amount of Yannis fights, and I do think he's a very fun striker. He has some power, and he went to a close decision with Cameron Smotherman a couple years ago. Has some good wins, beat Mo Miller. That's a solid win on the regional scene. And he actually went out there and just beat Nick Aguirre a couple months ago in the 4th round by TKO. I was not able to find that fight, so I'm going to try to find that fight this week. But that's a pretty solid win against Nick Aguirre, who's not completely horrible. But the one time I did see somebody try to take him down and grapple him, it was not the best look. It was against Gabriel Wanderlei, and Gabriel was able to take him down in the 1st round, just completely dominate him. Same thing 2nd round, got to his back and sunk in the rear naked choke. It was just pretty much one-sided domination. And Gabriel was like 3-1 at the time. He's now 5-2. So yeah, I think it's a great spot for Bashi. Bashi's wrestling is really good. This guy's still averaging 8 takedowns per 15 minutes, even with the C-Rod fight. He's a very good wrestler, very good grappler, really good cardio, can push a pace. I think he gets right back on track here against John Yannis. And I didn't think Yannis was that bad. But I do think it's a bad matchup for Yannis. So give me Bashi here. I'll take Bashi by 2nd round submission. Up next, we have Piera Rodriguez going against Ketlen Souza. By the way, we didn't have odds for the Bashi fight, obviously, but I do figure he's going to be a pretty decent-sized favorite. We got Rodriguez here versus Ketlen Souza. Rodriguez minus 190, and Ketlen Souza is plus 165. So these are two fighters that have both actually kind of grown on me a little bit. I was not too high on either of these fighters, for the most part of their careers, but, Piera Rodriguez went out there against Josephine Knudsen and looked like Khabib Nurmagomedov. It was ridiculous. I was there watching live, and I was kind of shocked at what I was looking at, because Knudsen is a very good fighter. I know she got cut for some reason, but Knudsen's a very good fighter, and Rodriguez went out there, took her down 8 times, and controlled her for over 10 minutes of the fight. That was a very good performance from Piera Rodriguez. And Ketlen Souza is a fighter that I thought was a complete bum coming into the UFC, but she's rattled off a couple wins, including a big upset win against Yasmin Jauregui, and I actually bet Angela Hill against her in her last fight. And I don't know. I thought they were probably going to give the fight to Souza just based off of the bigger moments in round 2 and round 3 and the optics. Angela Hill did not like how she was reacting to the shots from Souza, but Angela Hill got the split decision win, but it was a very, very close fight. So I think Souza's a lot better than I thought she'd be, and same thing with Rodriguez. But, the problem with Souza in this matchup is, I like what she does on the feet. She's aggressive. She comes forward. She throws with very bad intentions, but I'm worried about the takedown defense. Souza has a 64% takedown defense. We saw Marnik McMahon, of all people, take her down a couple times. We saw Angela Hill take her down pretty easily in the first round. For some reason, Angela Hill decided to not wrestle at all the second and third round. But in the first round, we saw Hill get a takedown, and that was the round. And that's the worry here, because Piera, she is going to wrestle. She is going to look to get the fight down to the ground. And if she does, she is a solid grappler. She does have solid control, and she has solid cardio as well to be able to push a wrestling heavy pace. So, I wanted to make a case for Souza here, and I do think she could potentially win this fight if she can stuff the takedowns, but I think that's going to be much easier said than done. So I got to go Rodriguez here. I'm going to take Piera Rodriguez to win this fight by decision. Up next, we have Rafael Estevam going against Felipe Bunes. Estevam minus 460. Bunes is sitting as a plus 360 underdog. And I think Estevam's a very good fighter. I was very impressed with Rafael Estevam and what he's been able to do lately. This guy is undefeated, sitting at 13-0. And he's a guy that, and I like guys like this, right? Like, there's grapplers a lot lately, right? We see it. They have a big advantage on the ground. And what do? They don't use that advantage. We saw Damon Blackshear completely forget how to grapple last week. We saw Nikita Krylov completely forget that he's a grappler. Rafael Estevam knows what he's good at, and that's grappling. You're not going to see Rafael Estevam strike at all. I mean, this is a guy that's landing over 6.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's looking to get you down early and get you down often. He's not going to mess around on the feet. So I like the fight IQ of Rafael Estevam. I like that he's good at one thing, and he's very good at that one thing. His wrestling's very good, his control's very good, and his grappling's really good, and his ground and pound is really good. Rafael Estevam, I think, is going to win a lot of fights in the UFC, and I think he's going to win this fight as well against Felipe Bunes. And the funny thing about this fight is I don't think Estevam has the best cardio, and apparently Estevam was going through like some major health issue. I forget what it was exactly, but he talked about how he got that fixed, and it's ready, and his cardio is going to improve and all that. And his cardio did look better in the Jesus Aguilar fight, so maybe he's onto something there. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the cardio of Estevam. That's probably his one knock. But I'm also not a fan of the cardio of Bunes. I actually think Bunes has the worst cardio in this matchup, believe it or not. So, yeah, I think it's a rough matchup for Bunes. Bunes does throw with bad intentions on the feet, but I don't think this is going to be on the feet. I think it's going to be a grappling fight. And Bunes, although he's a solid grappler, I do think he's going to end up on his back, and I think Bunes has a little bit of quit in him. I think Rafael Estevam finishes him here, whether it's a TKO, ground and pound, whether it's a submission at some point in this fight. I think Estevam gets Felipe Bunes out of there. We'll say second round sub for Rafael Estevam. Next up, we have a really weird fight here, in my opinion. We got Rodolfo Vieira going against Tresean Gore. We got Rodolfo Vieira minus 225, Tresean Gore plus 190. So this is a weird fight to me because, if I'm looking to, back Rodolfo Vieira and lay minus 2 something on him, I want him to have a clear grappling advantage. I want his opponent to suck on the ground, have no takedown defense, and that's not Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore looks to have pretty good takedown defense, and Tresean Gore, I believe, is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And of course, there's massive difference in terms of that jiu-jitsu, but if Rodolfo Vieira is not able to get Tresean Gore down, I think the fight could get a little bit interesting, right? And there's been fights where Rodolfo Vieira can't get his opponents down, and it hasn't really been the best looks. There's that Chris Curtis fight where Rodolfo Vieira went out there and went 0 for 20 on takedowns, and it was nice to see him attempt 20 takedowns, but he couldn't get one. And then against Andrey Petrosky, I don't even think he attempted maybe a couple. He actually attempted 11. Geez, he attempted 11 takedowns, got one, but didn't really sell out for any. I didn't think so. There's definitely been fights where he's not able to get those takedowns, and if he doesn't here, I'm not sure I want to lay minus 225 on him. I actually think a lot of this fight could take place in the striking. I think Gore could be strong enough to stuff takedowns here, keep it on the feet. But the thing about Tresean Gore is it's just so hard to pick him to win a fight against anybody, just because he doesn't do anything. Tresean Gore does nothing in the fight. I mean, look, you got to look at the stats, right? And you'll see that Tresean Gore lands 2.77 significant strikes per minute. And then you look at how much he absorbs. It's 8.16. That means he's getting outlanded by 1 million strikes per minute. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, he's throwing so little, he's absorbing so much, and it's hard to pick a fighter like that. I thought his knockout power was always overblown. I mean, this guy has maybe one knockout in his career, maybe. So I don't think he's knocking out Rodolfo Vieira, who actually has a good chin. Rodolfo Vieira has never been knocked out, as far as I'm concerned. So I kind of feel like this fight's going to take place on the feet, and I feel like it's going to be competitive, but I feel like Vieira is just going to do more. I think Vieira is going to be the higher striker in terms of activity, and I think that threat of that takedown is going to make Gore, who's very low volume, probably even more low volume. So I actually like Vieira to win this fight by decision, because I don't think he's knocking out Tresean Gore. I don't think Vieira's knocking out anybody. And of course, he could potentially take down Gore and sub him, but I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people think for Vieira to do so. But yeah, give me Vieira to win this fight by decision. I actually think this fight's going to be pretty greasy, but I'll go Vieira by decision in this one, and which would be his very first decision win ever. Up next, we have Rinya Nakamura going against Nathan Fletcher. We got Nakamura minus 400, Nathan Fletcher plus 300. When I first saw the odds, I laughed out loud because it's like Rinya Nakamura dropped the ball in his last fight. It's like, I hate when fighters do this. Like, Rinya Nakamura is a wrestler. You know, that's what he is. And in his last fight against Moin Gafarov, he forgot that he was a wrestler. He attempted, they credit him with one takedown, but it was kind of like a half-assed, like barely even tried type thing. I didn't think he attempted one takedown in the Moin Gafarov fight over the course of 15 minutes. And then on the feet, he didn't throw anything. It was one of the most bizarre performances I've ever seen. And he was like minus 700. It kind of looked like he bet on his opponent, Moin Gafarov, in that fight. He just didn't do anything. He didn't wrestle, and he's a wrestler. And it's like, I don't know, like minus 400 is wild to me, but I mean, Nathan Fletcher, I'm just not high on Nathan Fletcher, like, at all. And I know he went to a close fight with Colin Lochran, who I also don't think is great, and a lot of people thought that Fletcher won, including me, but you go back and watch the Con Offley fight, Offley was just ragdolling this guy. Con Offley, who's very undersized, who's quite frankly not that good, Con Offley took him down, controlled him, put him into a bunch of bad positions, and won that fight in the Ultimate Fighter 2-0. They didn't even need the third round there. So, yeah, if Con Offley's taking you down and dominating you, I mean, Rinya Nakamura, who's an incredible wrestler, a very slick grappler, should be able to absolutely do that. But the concern, especially when we're talking about laying minus 400, is Rinya Nakamura forgetting how to wrestle for some reason. But even if he forgets how to wrestle, I think he's probably the better striker here. So, yeah, Rinya Nakamura should win this fight. I'd actually be pretty surprised if he lost this fight. And yeah, I'll take him to win this fight by decision. Up next, we have a weird one here. It's Andrey Pulyaev going against Nick Klein. We got Pulyaev minus 150, Nick Klein at plus 130. And I don't know about this one. So, first look, I'm like, okay, I'm fading Andrey Pulyaev. I think this guy is just the worst fighter on the roster. And then I tape Nick Klein. It's like, I don't know what to feel about Nick Klein. Like, Nick Klein, he's not the best striker. He's not the best wrestler. He's not the best grappler. He doesn't have the best cardio. He's not really great anywhere. Like, I think his best attribute's probably the grappling, but like I said, he's not the best wrestler. He's struggling to get a lot of these guys down on the regional scene, and I saw some things that definitely concerned me on the Klein side, and what concerned me was the cardio in a lot of these fights. If he ends up on bottom, I've seen him finished on bottom a couple times, or at least put in some very bad spots on bottom. And if Andrey Pulyaev, who's a big dude, gets on top, that could certainly be a problem. But on the feet, I don't know. Pulyev's going to have a little bit of a reach advantage. He's the bigger guy. But I like the activity, I think, a little bit more of Nick Klein. And I like the willingness to wrestle a little bit more of Nick Klein. But is he going to be able to take down a big guy like Andrey Pulyaev? We'll have to see. I just think it's going to be a close fight. I know money's pouring in on Andrey Pulyaev. I don't get it. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I'm going to go Klein here. I don't have any confidence in him, though. I don't have any confidence in either one of these guys. I wanted to fade Pulyaev. I wanted to bet against him, but I'm just not sure Klein is that guy. We'll see if the line keeps getting wider, then maybe. but this is probably like borderline 1-800 gambler for me personally. Like, I don't want to put money on Pulyaev as a favorite especially, but I really don't want to put money on Nick Klein. Klein did look good in the first round against Mansur Abdulmalik. I'll say that. I think Klein's made a ton of improvements. I think he's a lot better, and I think he's looked a lot better lately, and maybe he looks even better here, but I don't know. Going back and watching some of his earlier fights, the wrestling didn't look great, the cardio didn't look great, and if he ends up on bottom, it won't be great, and I don't know. But I'm going Klein here. I'll take Klein to win a very greasy split decision. I think it's to be one of the greasiest fights of the card, but give me Klein by decision. Up next, we have Kevin Vallejos going against Danny Silva. Vallejos minus 400, Danny Silva sitting at plus 300. And yeah, I got to go Vallejos here. Vallejos, I think this guy's the real deal. You look at his only loss comes against Gene Silva, and he had a lot of success in that fight. Ended up losing that fight, and he went the distance with Gene Silva, which not a lot of guys can say that they went the distance with Gene Silva. I think Kevin Vallejos is probably the only guy that can say they went the distance with Gene Silva. I mean, Gene Silva hits very hard. So yeah, the durability of Vallejos, is on point. Young guy, making a ton of improvements, and yeah, striking's very good. The volume's very good. The power's very good. And he's going against Danny Silva, who does a lot of great things well also. Danny Silva can mix in the occasional takedown. Danny Silva's going to go out there and he's going to stand and bang with you. He's going to eat one to give one. He's going to throw a lot of volume. I'll never forget his Contender Series fight against Angel Pacheco, where they landed over 400 significant strikes combined. But if you're getting hit, 200 times by Angel Pacheco, I mean, if Kevin Vallejos hits you anywhere near that much, I mean, you're probably going down. I mean, Vallejos just has real power, and I know Silva's never been knocked out, but I do think he's going to get hit very hard in the face in this matchup. I got to go Vallejos here. I think he can keep the pace over the course of 15 minutes. I think he can, hit Silva and hit him hard. I think he's going to be landing the much bigger shots. I don't think Silva has much power at all. I think all the power is on the Vallejos side. So I'll go Vallejos here. I'll take Vallejos to win by decision. I could see him knocking down Silva, once or twice. But Silva's a tough dude. Silva's a dog. He's going to be in there. I'll go Vallejos by decision. And I do actually think this fight could be a lot closer than the line does indicate, because Silva does, like I said, Silva's not bad. He's not bad at all. And he can go out there and he can throw a lot of volume in his own right, but I just think the much harder shots, the much more powerful shots, all the damage is going to be coming from Kevin Vallejos. So give me Vallejos to win this fight. I'll take him to win this fight by decision. Up next, we have Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos going against Neil Magny. We got Zaleski minus 200. We got Neil Magny plus 170. And it's a weird fight in a sense that, all these old fighters, recently, these last two cards, the old fighters are getting it done. But the problem here is, they matched up the old fighters together. So we got to pick one. And for me, it comes down to who is more washed. And who do I think is more washed? And it's really not even close. Who's more washed? It's Neil Magny. Neil Magny is definitely more washed. And I know Zaleski's coming off of a knockout loss to Chidi and Jaquani, who I'm not high on at all. But yeah, Chidi caught him, and it is what it is. But Neil Magny, you look at his last several performances, and he just looks bad. He look on the feet, he looks slow, he looks fragile. He's getting hurt with everything that lands on the feet. And I know it's against hard hitters like Ian Gary and Michael Morales and Carlos Praches, but still, I mean, it's not. I don't like how he's reacting to shots. I don't like how he's reacting to leg kicks. I think his ground game hasn't looked great when he's on the mat lately, and the only thing Neil Magny's doing well as of recent is the cage pushing, right? He was able to cage push Phil Rowe a little bit. He's able to cage push Michael Morales for about 3.5 minutes of the first round. He's able to cage push Praches a little bit. But it's hard to pick just Neil Magny to win this fight for me, just because his path is literally cage pushing. He's not going to outstrike Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. That is not happening. He's not going to out-grapple Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. That is not happening. If Neil Magny is winning this fight, he's holding Zaleski against the cage for 15 minutes, and it's going to be the most boring fight ever. So, yeah, there is a path for Magny. That's his path, but I think at some point Zaleski's going to touch the chin. He's going to hurt Magny, and if Zaleski can get this fight down to the ground, I think he's going to have a significant advantage. But I'm going to take Zaleski here to knock out Neil Magny and get the job done here. So I'll go second round knockout for Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, and I think he gets it done. Up next, Karol Rosa going against Nora Cornolle. We got Karol Rosa minus 170, Cornolle plus 145. I think this has split decision written all over it. Karol Rosa always goes to decision. Always. I don't think one of her fights ever in the UFC has finished inside the distance, and I don't think that changes here. And here's how I'm seeing it. I think Karol Rosa is the more skilled fighter. I think she's the better fighter, but the better fighter doesn't always win. And Nora Cornolle, she's one of these fighters that just has that dog in her. She doesn't have the best striking, she doesn't have the best grappling, but what she does do is she comes forward and she throws hard, and she throws as hard as she can, and she throws with a purpose, and she's trying to finish you, and she's trying to get you out of there. And the same can't be said for Karol Rosa, who wants to go out there and pitter-patter for 15 minutes. Karol Rosa is not looking to finish you. Karol Rosa is not looking to hurt you. She's looking to pitter-patter and win a decision, whereas Nora Cornolle is trying to take your head off. She's trying to kill you in there. So I think it's one of those instances where Karol Rosa probably lands more significant strikes. I'd actually be pretty surprised if she didn't. But I think Cornolle is going to be the one coming forward, going to be the one landing the bigger shots, having the bigger moments, and I think we're getting a split decision. I think it's going to go into the hands of the crooked, blind, corrupt judges. Are they going to favor the volume of Karol Rosa? Are they going to favor the big moments of Nora Cornolle? And I'll say they favor the big moments of Nora Cornolle in a split decision here. So give me the dog, Nora Cornolle, to get it done by another split decision. Next, we have potential fight of the night here. It's Esteban Ribovics going against Elvis Brenner. We got Ribovics minus 260, Brenner plus 220. And a lot of people aren't going to like to hear this, but I just don't see it with Elvis Brenner. I really don't. I know he's a shoot-to-box guy. He's a tough guy. But, that's probably his best attribute, right? He's tough. He's a dog, and he is a dog. He's absolutely a dog, but you look at some of these fights, and it's he was losing 12 and a half minutes against Guram Kudetaladze, and then he came back and got the win, and that's great. I thought he lost his debut against Zabara Tehugov. I actually scored the fight 30-27 for Tehugov, and they ended up giving it to Brenner. I wasn't really impressed in that matchup. He knocks out Kanan Kontrusky. Loses to My Titty Back Oral Boy, which is not a terrible loss, and then loses to Joe Alvarez, which is not a terrible loss. But I don't know. Elvis Brenner, he's not the best striker. He's a solid grappler, but he hasn't used it yet in the UFC. He took down Oral Boy a couple times, but he hasn't really used that grappling, and I kind of expect that Brenner's going to go in here and get some takedowns. And actually, I would be shocked if he didn't get takedowns because Esteban Ribovics has no takedown defense. Esteban Ribovics' takedown defense is like a Kimura attempt. So yeah, if Brenner wants takedowns here, he'll get them, and he should get them. I think that'd be very smart for Brenner, but I do primarily think this fight's going to take place on the feet because yes, Ribovics can be taken down, but he's very good at getting back up. And once his fight is on the feet, I favor Ribovics pretty heavily. Ribovics throws a ton of volume. He's a very good striker, and Brenner is very hittable, and I don't like the volume on the Brenner side. So I like Ribovics here. The line is coming down. I do expect it to keep coming down. I expect Brenner to be a popular dog because he is a dog, and people like this guy, but I just don't see it from him. I really don't. Give me Ribovics to win this fight, and I think he can actually break Brenner as the fight goes on. Give me Esteban Ribovics to win this fight by third-round knockout in what should be a fight of the night. All right. Up next, we have Mateusz Rąbecki going against Chris Duncan. We got Rąbecki, who is minus 200, Chris Duncan plus 170. And Chris Duncan has been getting it done as an underdog, back-to-back, 2 guillotine chokes in a row. Does he continue this guillotine streak? I don't think so. I really don't. I went back and watched the Balaji Oki fight. Duncan was getting dog-walked. He was getting dog-walked for the first, 3 minutes of that round. And then Balaji Oki goes in for a takedown and gets guillotined. But prior to that, his striking looked really bad. He looked slow. He looked hittable. Got outlanded 21-10 at distance. And then he snatched at that neck, which was great. But I did not like how Duncan was looking prior to that guillotine. And then he goes out there and beats Vucenic. And he looked great. Duncan probably looked career best there. He was actually the one taking down Vucenic. And then Vucenic shot in on a takedown and got his neck snatched up in the second round. And Duncan even dropped Jordan Vucenic. So that was probably my favorite Chris Duncan performance. And now he's going against Mateusz Rąbecki, who I think is very good. This guy's 20-2. He has 20 wins, and he's well-rounded. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He can strike. He hits very hard. And I think on the feet, I got to favor Mateusz Rebecki, and I got to favor him pretty heavily here. I don't like the striking defense of Duncan. I don't like the chin of Duncan. Duncan's getting hurt in a lot of these fights, and Rebecki has a lot of power. And then in terms of the wrestling, in terms of the grappling, I favor Rebecki there too. I don't think he's going to get guillotined, at least you wouldn't think. So, yeah, I like Mateusz to get it done. Can Duncan pull it off? I mean, Duncan's won as an underdog 2 times in a row, both by guillotine. Can he do it 3 times in a row? Can he Walter Walker it? Maybe, but I got to go Rebecki here. I think Rebecki actually knocks out Chris Duncan. I'll say Mateusz Rebecki to win by second round knockout here. Then we have the main event. If you guys have not liked already, please be sure to like the video. Also, leave me a comment. Let's help out the algorithm, and it would be much appreciated. But we got the main event, Tatsuro Taira going against Hong Sung Park, a main event that we just found out was the main event earlier this morning. And, yeah, so Hong Sung Park was supposed to fight Steve Erceg next week, and I was actually really looking forward to that fight. And my pre-tape lean was actually to maybe the Park side as an underdog, because I'm not the highest Steve Erceg guy. I'm not the highest on Steve Erceg. But now he's taking on Tatsuro Taira here. And what I'll say is this is a astronomical step up for Hong Sung Park. I mean, this guy's undefeated, but I mean, 7 of his wins shouldn't count. I mean, seven of his wins are very, very bad against some of the lowest level opponents you'll ever see. And then the other 3 wins are against bad fighters like Sunguk Choi, not great. Shannon Ross, not great. His best win is against Carlos Hernandez, who's also not great, and that's his best win. And now he's taken a massive, giant step up in competition. He was training for a 3-round fight. He's now going to be in a 5-round fight against Tatsuro Taira, who is the real deal, who has the much better wins, who's beaten guys like Edgar Chairez. That's a great win. Who's beaten guys like Alex Perez. Say what you want about Alex Perez, but that's a good win. He also beat Carlos Hernandez, beat CJ Vergara, Jesus Aguilar, Carlos Candelario. I mean, these are some solid wins here from Taira. And he went to a very close split decision with Brandon Royval, and there's no shame in that whatsoever, and I actually like to see that. I like to see that, Taira went out there and went 25 minutes with a guy like Brandon Royval, who's a top 4 guy in the division, and Brandon Royval, and it was a close fight, and Taira had a lot of moments. Taira took Royval down 6 times, and in the 3rd round, Taira had a very deep choke locked in, and Royval was able to survive. But yeah, Taira definitely had his moments against Brandon Royval, and I like to see him take that first loss because you're gonna learn a lot from that loss, and I think he has, and I think he will. And he's only 25 years old, so although I think Park's very good, don't get me wrong, I've always been a big fan of Park and his style. He's very good everywhere. He's a solid striker. He's a solid grappler. He's a solid wrestler. He looked career best in his last fight against Carlos Hernandez, where he just came forward the entire time, broke him, and choked him out in 2 minutes. It was a great performance. But this is not Carlos Hernandez. This is Tatsuro Taira. I think this fight is going to hit the ground early, and I just think the better grappler is Taira. I mean, this guy, Taira, his grappling is incredible. His grappling is extremely slick. And if this fight gets extended, you got to favor the guy that's been training for a 5-round fight. You got to favor the guy that's been 5 rounds. Hong Sung Park's barely even been to round 3. Maybe once or twice he's been to round 3. Other than that, he's finishing early. So, yeah, I got to go Taira here. I'm interested to see where this line goes. We just recently got odds for it. Taira was around minus 300. Some money came in on Park. He's now minus 260. But, yeah, I think this should be Taira. Like, I really struggled to see Park winning this fight just because I don't think he's knocking out Taira. I don't think that's happening. And I don't think he's out grappling Tatsuro Taira. So, yeah, I like Taira here to get it done. And I'm going to say he wins this fight by 3rd round submission. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a weird card this week. Lots of changes too. I mean, and we might even get more changes. They might still get Waldo Cortez Acosta an opponent, which would be extremely annoying. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But as of now, I believe we have 11 or 12 fights. And I think a lot of these fights are going to be fun. So looking forward to it. If you guys could do me a huge favor on your way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then also leave me a comment. And yeah, looking forward to this card. We got the Apex card coming up. next week, and then we have UFC 319 in Chicago. And we got Contender Series coming up, I think starting August 12th. So going to start to be a busy time of the year for me with the Contender Series and all that, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the fights. See you later.